Exploring the heart of care. Cares, education, inspiration, and support for caregivers. Exploring the heart of care.
Hello there, and welcome back to CareCast, where we are exploring the heart of care. Thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Jeremy Watkins, and we're going to be continuing our deep dive into the psychology of caregiving. So in episode 2, we sat squarely in the recipient's experience, understanding their grief, loss, and the psychological fight for their identity, and it was a heavy and essential conversation. And if you felt that weight, if you felt that deep ache of recognition while listening, that is precisely where we are starting today. When you offer truly present, empathetic care, it comes at a cost. Your heart opens up and you absorb some of that pain, that frustration, that loss. Today's episode is about acknowledging and naming that cost. The caregiver's emotional burden, compassion fatigue, and empathy overload. We are going to differentiate between everyday burnout and the deep psychological injury of too much empathy, and most importantly, learn how to set psychological boundaries to survive it. You know, when we hear the word burnout, we hear it a lot, and it definitely applies to caregiving. Burnout is exhaustion, physical, mental, and emotional from chronic work stress. It's the feeling of, I am tired of doing this. But I want you to understand a more specific, insidious condition called compassion fatigue, also known as secondary traumatic stress. Compassion fatigue is not about being tired of the work. It's about being wounded by the work. It's the emotional and spiritual exhaustion that comes from bearing witness to other people's pain and suffering. Think of it this way. Burnout often makes you feel cynical about the system or the tasks. Compassion fatigue often makes you feel numb, helpless, or hopeless about the person and their suffering. The key psychological change is a diminished ability to empathize. Because your empathy tank is consistently drained, your brain starts to shut down that emotional part of you as a self-protection mechanism. You might notice yourself becoming more detached, irritable, or less reactive to things that used to bother you. This is your psychological warning system flashing red. Compassion fatigue is born from empathy overload. And there are two key psychological traps we fall into that exacerbate this. Number one is emotional fusion. This is the mistake of confusing your loved ones or your patient's feelings with your own. When they are frustrated, you become frustrated. When they are sad, you feel that deep, paralyzing sadness. We feel compelled to solve their emotional state, which is simply impossible. The psychological truth is your job is to witness their pain, not own their pain. You must maintain a psychological boundary between their experience and yours. We need empathy, which is understanding what they feel, but not sympathy, which is feeling it with them to the point of exhaustion. And trap number 2 is the hero complex and self sacrifice. Many caregivers believe that to be a good caregiver, they must be completely self sacrificing. The psychology here is often rooted in guilt or societal pressure. We operate under the myth of selflessness. This leads to ignoring your own needs for sleep, nutrition, or social connection, all of which are essential resources your brain needs to maintain empathy. By depleting your resources, you are setting yourself up for the very fatigue that makes you a less effective caregiver. So, to wrap this up, the antidote to compassion fatigue is not to stop caring, it is to care wisely. And caring wisely requires building psychological boundaries. These are the invisible lines that protect your emotional energy. Here are 3 ways to start building that essential psychological armor. Number 1, practice mindful separation. When you walk out the door or the care shift ends, mentally, put the experience in a box. It's not about ignoring it, but about containment. It's a transitional ritual. Before you unlock your own door, take 3 deep, slow breaths. And on that exhale, consciously release the tension of the day's emotional weight. This is a small neurological cue to your brain that the caregiver role is temporarily paused. And number 2 is schedule emotional recovery time. Just as you schedule medication, you must schedule a time where your brain is doing something that is not caregiving and is not recovery. This means engaging in activities that are purely pleasurable, distracting, or intellectually engaging. Read a fun novel, watch a silly movie, or work on a hobby. This actively replenishes your cognitive and emotional resources. Number 3, use strategic self-talk. When the guilt creeps in, and it will, counter it with truth. If you hear the voice saying, "You are a bad person for taking a break," counter it with, "Taking care of myself is not selfish, it is necessary. I am a better caregiver when I am rested." This is a form of cognitive reframing. You are training your mind away from the self sacrificing martyr role and toward the sustainable professional role. If you recognize signs of compassion fatigue in yourself today, the numbness, the irritability, the detachment, please know this is not a personal failing. It is a sign that you have been loving and giving too deeply for too long without adequate replenishment. Your ability to feel empathy is one of your greatest strengths, but it also is a finite resource. You must protect it. Next week, we will continue this discussion by tackling the most common psychological traps that deplete this resource. We're going to be talking about managing guilt and resentment. We'll explore why these are inevitable parts of the caregiving experience and how to process them healthily so they don't consume you. Thank you for exploring the heart of care with me. Until next time, remember that the most loving thing you can do for your care recipient is to take impeccable care of the person providing the care. And that person is you.
Carecast, exploring the heart of care. Carecast, education, inspiration.